just like to emphasise for my, especially for my American friends, that this is a two-way road. There are cars that come in the opposite direction, in which case what you have to do is find a passing place like the one we're just going past on the left, and whoever's closest to one will either reverse to it or perhaps go forward and sort of push the people in front of you to go backwards, which is all very well, of course, but the problem with that is that quite a lot of people these days are really crap at reversing, and if they've got to reverse, say, I don't know, 100 metres, 100 yards, then that's really quite difficult for them. But still, today, haven't met anyone on this road yet, but it's entirely possible I will. We'll see. Anyway, this is the road over the Brecon Beacons, near where I live, and goes from Brecon Mountain to Clandevere, which is where I live. And it's a lovely area, really. I mean, as you can probably tell from the view, it's really quite magnificent. There are a few drawbacks, like it gets very cold up here. I mean, at the moment it's 3 degrees here, whereas down bottom in the actual village it's near to 7. And again, for my American friends, we're talking Celsius here, not Fahrenheit. We don't get down to 3 degrees Fahrenheit. I do remember visiting Boston in the 80s, and an old friend, Martin Minnow, taking me for a run, and there was 22 degrees of frost Fahrenheit. And I have to say that that's the coldest that I've ever been. I think going out for a run, it seemed ridiculous at the time, and looking back on it, it seems even more ridiculous now. Still, haven't encountered anyone yet, so this is good. And look at the hills, the mountains rolling around here. Absolutely beautiful, and what a fantastic area to live. I mean, we've lived in urban landscapes. My mind goes back to when we lived in Surbiton, which is really quite a long time ago now, probably 45 years, and you know, you did get green parks, but you didn't get scenery like this. I mean, why would you? You're a couple of minutes from London at that point, and there are no mountains in London. I hate to give away a trade secret, but there are no mountains in London at all. Whereas here, they're all over the bloody place, and it's a beautiful area. Forgive the car rattling around, a bit like me, it's getting on in years, but what the hell. So, I'll just drive along and let you admire and be frightened. Here we're going over a cattle grid. I mean, I imagine most people know about a cattle grid, but in case you don't, the idea is that sheep and cattle cannot cross them, because the gaps between the rails mean that they look at it and think, sod that for a game of soldiers, which is an entirely fair thought, I think. Which doesn't actually prevent some from trying to, and and occasionally you'll come along and you'll find a sheep with all four legs akimbo through the gaps in a grid, and the farmer has to come along and lift them out, which is actually a similar thought to another thing which occurs this time of year, which is that sometimes you'll be driving along and you'll see around here there's loads of sheep. So what you will see is sheep lying on their backs with their legs in the air and they can't get up. What happens is that the ewes get impregnated by the rams. They have a gestation period of 5 months. So over the coldest part of the year they are pregnant, and sometimes they get knackered, sometimes they'll lay down, and having laid down sometimes they'll roll on their back, and sometimes they can't bloody move after that. It's a strange phenomenon, but there we go. I should emphasise, by the way, that there are sheep here. There are some cattle, but not many, because the grassland quality is not that great. Sheep can eat anything really. Cattle, if they're going to produce a decent standard of milk, need reasonable standard of grass and hay. So where are we? We're in middle of November. Slowly it's getting colder. We've had some very wet weather. We had a bloody great storm called Storm Claudia. Spelt Claudia, but it was named in Italy, so they called it Claudia instead. But today, as you can see, bright sunshine. Absolutely beautiful blue skies. There are some clouds gathering, and no doubt, because this is Wales, we will get rain at some point today, but not today. Not this morning anyway. The forecast is for no rain, but then again the forecast is about as useful as a chocolate teapot really around here, because depending on which way the wind's blowing, the weather comes in from different angles, comes off the top of the Brecon Beacons, and that can bring down some really brutal weather. On the other hand, if the winds are easterly, because we're on the western edge of the Brecon Beacons, the winds are easterly, then we get warmer weather blowing in. So if you want to know if it's going to rain, you can either say we're in Wales, it's going to rain, or you look out the window. The one thing which is pretty bloody useless is the weather forecast most of the time. Sometimes they warn you about the storms, like Storm Claudia, which is perfectly valid thing to do. I mean, we had a month's worth of rain in a day in some parts of southern Wales. Fortunately, it didn't hit us, but it has hit some towns and cities like Monmouth really badly. You know, they have walls at the side of the river to try and guard against flooding, but they're only like 3 foot high or a metre high, and when you get a month's worth of rain, here's another cattle grid, and a new one at that. If you get a month there, look, you've got a beware of the sheep sign. It's not really beware of the sheep, there's sheep on the road. In fact, there's sheep every bloody where here, but there we go. Anyway, so, as I was saying, when you get a month's worth of rain, anything can bloody happen, and quite a few towns and villages, their rivers overflowed. I'm slowing down here because there's a van coming, I think. Yep, there we are. Oh, he's turning in for me. What a good lad. Everybody waves thank you to each other here. You didn't see it because the phone is off to the left. So I'm parked up here. Lots of people come up here, park their cars, take their dogs for a walk, which is, as you might expect, a lovely experience. Just ahead of us, and you won't be able to see it because it's too small, but there's a red kite floating around in the wind. Maybe as we come up this hill, you'll get a glimpse of it. Yeah, fantastic. And off to the right, we have what can only be described as a castle, Carrick-Cannon Castle. Beautiful place, and there's a story behind it. It used to belong to the Welsh equivalent of the National Trust, and was in the middle of a farm. So a guy came along about 40 years ago and bought the farm, and they forgot to take the castle out of the deeds. So when he bought the farm, he also bought the castle. And then started charging people to visit it. Perfectly reasonable thing to do. Make a few quid, why not? So I only really had one vehicle coming the other way. This part does get a bit busier, where busy is a very relative term. Very relative term. Stone walls. And yes, another cattle grid. All this land does belong to various farmers, but with the British law of the right to roam, loads and loads of people come up here and walk. There are a myriad of footpaths, and there's a car coming, so I'm going to reverse. There we go. Now can we get out? Oh yes, just about. Got new tyres yesterday, and I think that might have played a part in allowing us to get out of the mud there. Never mind. Sun's obviously low with the time of year, so even though it's 11 o'clock in the morning, there's a lot of shadow. There's also a lot of bright sunshine, which is really nice. Just a glimpse of the road across the Brecon Beacons in my area, and I hope for those people who drive silly large vehicles on extra wide roads, this has been a frightening experience. And yes, I do drive on the left, but on a road like this, you're just driving down the middle unless somebody gets in your way and you have to pull to one side. And there we go. Sheep! Lots and lots of sheep. And all the ewes will be pregnant and due to give birth sometime in March, upon which fresh lamb arrives in the butchers. I know it's a terrible thing, but on the other hand, roast lamb, it's really nice. If you've never tasted it, if you've never tasted it, well, you're missing out. Anyway, cheery bye.